Welcome, my little couch potatoes, to the comfiest courtroom on the internet. I'm your host, Llama, and it's time for dramatic testimony, overruled objections, and absolutely unqualified opinions. So grab your snuggiest blanket, some delicious snacks, and get ready to watch court with your internet besties. This is Couch Court with Llama.
Hi, couch potatoes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I've missed you guys so much. It feels like it's been forever. It's only been since Monday, but it feels like forever to just be sitting here. You guys like my new background? It's spooky season. Ooh. I thought, what's spookier than going inside Chad Daybell's mind? Not much, probably. But before we get into that, let's say hello to everyone. Hello, 80s music man. Hope you're doing great. Happy October to you. Elbow Feet is here and lurking, doing what he does best. Lurking. Hello, Elbow Feet. Lady in Gray, good morning. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Kelly, hey, babes. Hope you're feeling better today. Good to see you here. Llama in her pyro flannel. Yeah, I did tell y'all last night I was wearing this today, didn't I? I saved this one for all day because it's way more comfier than the other one. Anyway, you guys, so last night, True Crime and Wine Time, we finished part 2 of the John Pillow Pyro Orr story, which is always fascinating to get into some minds of different kinds of criminals. He's a firefighter arsonist, so that was interesting. It's also why we're here today. It's to get into the mind of Chad Daybell. So a lot of people online, because of course it's the internet, and of course there's angry people, are very upset, very upset with the fact that this website exists for Chad to write his letters and get a platform. And I get what they're saying, but also you don't have to read it because I want to read it. All right. I like getting into the minds of some of these people, right? I'm never going to sit down with this guy. I don't believe half the shit this guy says, but I still want to read it. I still want to know. I find that there's still a lot of stuff to learn, right? And they're all like, let's take it down, take down the website, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I get it. I do. But also, no, no, because I do want to hear his crazy. I don't even know what he's talking about half the time. And by the way, I did not read. We only have 2 today. Oh, it says my connection's not great. Oh, not today, Satan. Not today. Oh. They said, oh, Chad's gonna write new letters and drop them. I think every Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Thursday, whatever, twice a week. All right. It's been 2 weeks. How many letters should we have? 4. How many do we have? 2. 2. Get it together, Chad. You're already disappointing me, and I already don't like you. Hello, Kathy. Good morning. Good morning. Well, I forgot. I was like, oh, wow, it is early for you to be here. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Llama, it's 11 o'clock my time. So it's still very good morning to you, but not so much on my end. It always throws me off when I do later streams than I'm used to. Now, today, we're not going to be here very long today because, like I said, Chad let us down and we only have 2 letters, but that's fine. That's fine because I have a lot to prepare because tonight, you guys. So for the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a show called TMI, Too Much Internet, for our members only. It's a fun show where we just find weird shit on the internet and share it with each other. And it's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun, very funny. It's been a great time. Well, the first Friday of every month, we're making that show public for everyone to watch. And guess what? It's the first Friday of the month. So everybody, make sure you click your notifications, subscribe, notifications, that whole thing, so you don't miss when we go live at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. It'll be myself, the fabulous Elbow Feet, my other half. The lovely Amos will be on there. That's right. You guys don't get to see her very often because she works during the day, but she will be on. And we will also have the lovely and fabulous Lady in Gray. So it's going to be a good show. You don't want to miss it. It'll be fun. We do so much serious stuff on the channel, stuff that you guys see, and then all the research behind the scenes. And it's a drag sometimes. So this is kind of the one show we can have where we're all just concentrating on something fun that the stakes are not high, that's not, so depressing, because a lot of depressing things are going on around the world. And so we got this, we put this together for you guys. You've been up since 1 a.m. your time. Oh my goodness, girl. Oh my goodness. Well, if you haven't yet, please hit the like button. Lets everybody know that we're live and that this is where they probably want to be, because I'm sure reading these is going to be fantastic. So let's get into it, guys. Oh, that's not the right one. There we go. I even zoomed in so you guys can have a better time to, if you want to read along. I know I'm one of those people that I like to read while also somebody is reading to me. So some of you might be like that. Kelly says, not sure if you saw my post on Discord. Diddy is being sentenced today. Yes, he is being sentenced today. Actually, this weekend, I had to finish doing my after dark Diddy recordings from when I covered that trial. So I don't know what's happening over there, but I do know that it's happening today. So I will definitely be covering that in the next few days and drop an episode about that. That's right. Also hit the notification bell so you'll get all of the notifications. Also, oh crap, I didn't put together a community post. Well, we'll do that at the end. How about that? So also Sunday for our members only, okay, besties and above, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, will be my first episode of another new show that I'll be doing once a month called Llama Learns About Blank, where you guys are going to suggest topics you want me to learn about for the first time. Now, I'm not going to learn about them ahead of time. I'll put together a couple, things to read and show, but I'm not going to go into it on my own. We're going to learn about it together live. So, and I like things when you go to suggest things that are weird or different, or, I love shit like that. So I will be posting something in our community tab after this day, because I meant to do it this morning and I forgot. Rats. And besties and above, put in your suggestions, and then 1 p.m. on Sunday, we'll learn some stuff together. How's that? How's that? Oh, look who's down in my mini screens. Hi, babes. So definitely give me all your suggestions, and we'll pick a few. We'll save some for the next month, and we'll see how it goes. But last week we went to pick up a case, and the trial ended up not starting that day, which was very annoying. But we hung out for 2 hours. We learned about all sorts of weird things together, like the Rougarou and local myths. That was fun. So it'll be kind of like that. But let's get into what we're really here for. Letters from Chad Daybell, who is sitting on death row in Idaho for the murders of his wife, Tammy Daybell, and JJ and Tylee Vallow. And he's a real piece of crap, and we don't like him. He was a wannabe cult leader. And honestly, I think that is what he's trying to accomplish with these letters, is to somehow get more followers. And I think, you know what? The more we make fun of him and how ridiculous he is, maybe that might deter people from following him again this time. And I do want to make it perfectly clear, I am going to make fun of a lot of what Chad has to say. That is not to be taken by people of the Mormon faith or anything like that. Chad sucks. Okay. So we're making fun of Chad, not everything outside of that. Okay. Because they don't even claim Chad. All right. Chad's a freaking ridiculous guy. So let's all just remember that. Okay. All right. So for some reason, my internet connectivity thing is popping up today, and I don't like it. All right. So this is letter 6 by Chad. And of course, the first sentence is eye-catching, because of course it is. Mr. Death Experiences. All right. My second near-death experience happened in the summer of 1993. Isn't that right? Didn't he say in the last one he had 4 or 5 near-death experiences or something like that? Which is very crazy, but okay. 8 years had passed since I had jumped off the cliff at Flaming George Reservoir. I was now nearly 25 years old. Tammy and I had moved to Ogden the previous year when I was hired as a copy editor for the Standard Examiner newspaper, and we now had a 1-year-old son. Ogden is about a 90-minute drive from Springville, so we felt we were on our own, but still close enough to visit our families regularly. I really enjoyed my new job. I had been the city editor during my senior year for BYU's Daily Universe newspaper, but going to the Standard Examiner was a major step up. Oh my God, I can't believe this guy had jobs where he was in charge of editing and writing. Because you guys, he's not a good writer. Okay. Okay. Don't forget, Chad wrote a lot of books and they are not good. They are so just not good. The company was a full-scale operation with a bustling newsroom and dozens of employees, and I was right on the front lines in producing the newspaper each day. This was an exciting time when computer typesetting programs were being introduced. But when I first started working there, we still actually cut and pasted the newspaper together, which was a thing, younger people. It was a thing. And it's true. And we can make fun of Chad all we want. He sucks. On the front lines, right? Oh, he's so ridiculous. On the copy desk, we would design the pages, edit the story, write the headlines, then send the articles to the production room. If an article ended up being too long for the page, I would be called to the production room to decide which part of the story to cut. Then, with an X-Acto knife, we would literally cut the text to fit and paste it onto the page board. Yeah, it's pretty, I'll be honest, it is pretty cool how they used to do newspapers. Pain in the ass, but very impressive. There was a lot of stress as the daily deadline approached with people running everywhere and shouting to each other as we all tried to do 3 things at once. I would be editing a last-minute article on my computer, but listening for someone to shout, "Chad, get back here and cut this story." Or, "That headline isn't long enough. Rewrite it." Okay. Also kind of sounds like the behind the scenes for TCWT, doesn't it? We're all doing 15 things at once. And everybody's like, "No, we're fine. Everything's fine." So the job was invigorating, and I was getting a hands-on crash course in writing, editing, and publishing. The 8-hour shifts went quickly because we rarely had time for a break. Since I had an interest in sports, I became the main copy editor for the sports section. Okay, that explains a lot, actually. I thrived in the excitement each weekend as we scrambled to get in all of the high school and college stories and scores before the deadline. On those nights, I usually designed each page and wrote every headline in the section. It was high pressure at times, but rewarding when we put together a great section. So he just wrote sports, and no offense to sports writers. You guys are good, but also, Chad, come on. Just a sports writer, really? Okay. Right? Right? I'm not saying Chad really, because was it his story? Was it one of his letters? I get confused between his letters and his shitty books. But didn't he talk about a cousin that he had that played baseball and he seemed like super jealous? Or maybe it was his brother. I think it was his brother played baseball and he was just like, "I'm not good at anything." Something like that. Okay. I got along well with my colleagues and I expected to steadily work my way up the corporate ladder and remain with the newspaper for several years. Tammy had made some good friends in Ogden, and we enjoyed exploring northern Utah together. I was focused on my career and my young family. Then my parents invited us to join them on a vacation to San Diego, California. I had spent my first 2 years of life there while my father was serving in the U.S. Navy, and the area has remained a special place for our family. One spot we liked to visit was La Jolla Cave, where we'd play on the beach and look for seashells. When we arrived on this particular day, it was low tide and a jagged rock outcropping had been exposed. Oh, that we must be getting close to his near-death experience. Probably jumped off something again like an idiot. Bowling is not a sport. Oh, probably another reason Chad didn't like Charles Vallow. That's probably right, because he was a baseball player as well. Ooh, Lady in Gray. I never connected that. Good job. Good job. I climbed out onto the outcropping looking for shells that might have gotten trapped among the rocks. The ocean had been calm, but I suddenly looked up to see a towering wave bearing down on me. I had no way to avoid it. For a moment, I considered trying to ride the wave to the beach, but I knew I would surely be sliced apart by the jagged rocks. Okay. Over the roar of the approaching wave, I heard an audible voice shout in my ear, "Get down and cling to that rock." Oh, okay. I grabbed hold of a nearby 2-foot wide boulder just as the monstrous wave crashed down on me. The force was incredible, and it took all of my strength to not get ripped away by the water. Oh, so we have a voice? I'm going to go with it's probably God or something. Telling him to hold on. I feel like Chad might be one of those people where he's like, I hear God's voice, and he just doesn't know what an inner monologue is. He seems like he'd be that kind of person. Then my surroundings instantly changed, and I found myself out of my body inside a tunnel of light. It wasn't a bright white light, but more like a yellow heat lamp. Okay. It felt like I was wrapped in a warm blanket, and I felt extremely happy. Chad, I think you just peed your pants. I think that's what that is, but okay. I saw 2 men in robes standing about 10 feet above me in the tunnel, and I instinctively knew them. One was my grandpa Keith Daybell, and the other was my great-great-great-grandpa, Finity Daybell. Oh, that's the name. They had died before I was born, but it was like reuniting with old friends. I levitated up the tunnel to where they were, and the tunnel opened up into a room. They smiled at me, but they seemed to be in a hurry. I don't know why anyone in the afterlife would be in a hurry. It's infinity, right? But okay. Keith began speaking to me and gesturing with his hands. He mentioned my 5 children and the roles they would play in the future. Oh, okay. It was a strange conversation since Tammy and I only had 1 child at the time. Oh. Keith also explained the task I needed to accomplish in my lifetime. As he talked, I saw snippets of future events on a set of screens in front of me. The rush of images was almost overwhelming. It felt like they were being downloaded into my mind. Keith asked me if I would be willing to fulfill the assignments he had outlined, and I agreed to do so. You guys, if he is blaming Grandpa Keith on what he's done, oh no. Hi, Pam. Good morning, babes. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Right, inner monologue must be God. Okay. Finity didn't speak because he was keeping an eye on my body, which was now tumbling among the rocks. I could also see my body, but I had lost all interest in it. I was too busy enjoying this family reunion. Then I saw Finity give a nod to Keith, who made a motion with his hand. I was suddenly back in my body, which had washed closer to the beach. Well, okay, I guess that's an experience, Chad. I felt wrapped in a soft, protective cushion as another wave propelled me over the rocks and onto the beach. I credit this cushion for helping me escape additional serious injuries. Did you have any injuries? Let's find out. Then the pain hit me. Oh. I looked at my hands and I saw my fingertips were shredded from being ripped away from the rock. The left side of my back had large bloody gashes, and I had a deep cut on my chin. My family helped me to the car and took me to the hospital to be examined. I didn't have any broken bones, but I got a lot of stitches. Okay. This brief adventure out of my body felt like an urgent business meeting where Grandpa Keith poured information into me, while Finity allowed the meeting to go on just long enough before I would have drowned. It seemed like there should have been an easier way, but I guess they seized the opportunity, right? Because what, they can't come talk to you at any other time in your life? Okay. Just at that moment. All right. Chad. I was pretty banged up, so Tammy and I decided to end our trip at that point and head back home. On the drive back to Ogden, I told her about what had happened with Keith Infinity. That's when you tell her, you don't tell anybody else? Okay. She was very intrigued and started asking many questions like a normal person. As she did so, the snippet pertaining to each question would play in my mind. I told her about the 5 kids, and she was happy about that. She asked when they would be born, and I explained I hadn't been given any dates, but I had seen we would have 3 kids in Ogden before moving back to Springville. So we estimated we had at least a few more years living in Ogden. Okay. Once we returned home, most of the snippets were taken from my mind. And even now, I only have access to them on a need to know basis. What? Okay. That doesn't, all right. All right. Okay. Tammy and I wish we'd talked more about it on the trip home and found out more, but we would have one answer soon enough. Little did we know during our trip that Tammy was already pregnant with our second child, and the third one would quickly follow. So this is like the beginning of, well, I don't, it's not the beginning, but more signs that, Chad thinks he's fucking special and, some sort of prophet and all this bogus stuff. So, yay. Oh, if he says, hello, everybody, just trying to get my daily dose of portals, right? Need to know, right? That's like, well, I came up with a story. Oh, I forgot. I'll bring up stuff when I remember it. Oh, jeez. I had seen enough in the spirit world snippets to raise my curiosity about one future job option, but it seemed highly unlikely to happen anytime soon. During my sophomore and junior years at BYU, I had a part-time job at the Springville Evergreen Cemetery. Yes, that's right, you guys. I forgot he worked at a cemetery. During the school year, I would attend classes in the morning and work there in the afternoons. Oh, this freaking hair. It's like right. I don't even know how it got to that side of my face. During the school year, I would attend classes in the morning and work there in the afternoons. Then I would work full-time during the summer. Over time, all of my brothers also work there, so it became a family tradition in a way. The cemetery sexton, yes, you guys, that is a real job name, was Denny Pickering. Okay, Denny Pickering. All right. And he supervised all of the cemetery operations. These tasks included sprinkler repair, lawn maintenance, digging and filling graves, coordinating with mortuaries and headstone companies, and helping families purchase burial plots. Now, the digging and filling graves, now we know why that must have been pretty easy for him to do, right? Yeah, that is true. He veered off on his own path. I became Denny's assistant and took care of these matters when he went on vacation. In the summer, there was a 5-person crew to help maintain the cemetery, but in the winter, it was just the 2 of us. I shoveled a lot of snow. Yeah. About 2 years after my La Jolla Cove experience, and soon after our third child was born, my brother called to tell me Denny had announced his retirement. The city was looking for his replacement, and my brother thought I might be interested in applying for the job, since I had knowledge and experience other candidates might not have, because I'm sure that was all very hard to learn to cut grass and dig holes. But okay. This would definitely be an unusual career change, but Tammy and I felt it was the right time to make a move. I interviewed for the position and was hired the next week. When things fell into place so quickly, we knew it was the right decision. So, with our growing family, we moved back to Springville in late 1995, just like his grandpappies told and showed him in his near-death experience. Some of you guys may not know, Chad and Lori Daybell, Vallow Daybell, met because she too claimed to have near-death experiences. Again, I'm not knocking people that claim it, but fuck these two. We're going to make fun of them as much as we can. There's so much ridiculous crap that they believe in and did to other people with those beliefs. So screw them. But Chad's like whole area and how he would get people is talking about these near-death experiences. He has special access to things. Ugh. Oh, I hate this guy. Oh, yeah, I forgot. He also breaks his letter up by telling us a part of his past, then about reading books, and then the last part is about music, which I'm sure today Elbow Feet will message me how to, say the name of a band. Oinko boinko, babe. By the way, you guys should know that we say that to each other now, like every day, at least. All right, so bookshelf. The late 1980s and through the 1990s were a unique time when truths about the spirit world were being revealed from seemingly every direction. The Berlin Wall came down, and the rapid changes in the Soviet Union brought feelings of hope and peace as we headed towards the new millennium. A spiritual awakening emerged across the world as these life-changing events unfolded. I did not know that that's when the spirit world came together. I didn't know that. So the spirit world responsible for the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union. Okay, the more you know. Angels, oh Jesus. Angels were a major topic of conversation on daily talk shows, and TV programs such as Touched by an Angel were very popular. Meanwhile, dozens of books about angels and visits from the other side filled the nation's bestseller list. I have many opinions about everything he just said, but I'm going to keep those to myself here. Many of these books were written by LDS church members who either shared their own personal experiences or who compiled the experiences of others. Here are some of the more notable spiritual books written by LDS authors during that time. Links have been provided for each, but they're all paid for. Now, I'm not gonna say what these are. You know why? Because much of that movement he just talked about are grifters. Okay? That whole thing, nothing but a bunch of grifters. Same with self-help books, most of them grifters. Anyway, if you're interested, there's those, but just don't do it. After my second near-death experience, I devoured these books and many others like them. If that's not enough to discourage you from getting those books, there you go. There you go. I felt I had discovered a group of people who could relate to what I'd been through. Each one of these books is excellent, covering heavenly topics from different angles, but with the same general theme of a vast world beyond this one. I later had the privilege of getting to know and work on books with Lee Nelson and Sarah Hines. They are among the best people I've been associated with. Lee is a good-hearted, down-to-earth cowboy, and Sarah is a sweet, kind, thoughtful person. She's a true angel herself. Okay. Okay. Does Reagan know it was the spirits who tore down the wall? Probably not. Who knew? Who knew? I didn't. It probably eats bugs. All right, musical notes. Let's see what Chad wants us all to listen to this week. Suddenly, after 3 years at the Standard Examiner, I was Springville's cemetery sexton at age 27. Although I had been anticipating a transition back to my hometown after the birth of our third child, because its grandpa told him so, I was surprised at which job had opened up. I had been looking at jobs in Utah County related to my communications journalism degree. I had actually been offered a position on the Provo Daily Herald staff a couple of months earlier, but it didn't feel right and I turned it down. Who here believes that's what happened? Anybody? Anybody believe him there? That he turned it down? No, I don't. The cemetery job had been in the back of my mind, but I figured Denny Pickering wasn't going to retire anytime soon. Denny stayed on the job during my first 2 weeks to overlap a bit and answer any questions I might have. It was great to reconnect with him. My brothers and I always regarded him with great respect, but also as a wise guru because he would share various sayings and phrases about life that were equally puzzling and profound. He would often tell us, enjoy. Ooh, enjoy. That's so puzzling and profound. Oh my goodness. Right? Those graves that were on your property that you said, I don't know anything about. Okay. Okay. Hi, Liz. Hi, babe. Hope you're doing great. Hope you had a great weekend. Happy to see you here. That's it. No elaboration or explanation. Oh, so puzzling. If we asked, enjoy what? He would simply repeat, enjoy, and walk away. Oh my goodness. I finally decided Denny meant for us to enjoy each moment and appreciate life. So I pass on that message to you. Enjoy. Oh, oh man, not a wiser word has ever been spoken. Thanks, Chad. You know what I'm enjoying, Chad? This. I'm very much enjoying this. After Denny's final 2 weeks, I was on my own. I tried not to feel overwhelmed at first. The Springville Evergreen Cemetery is very large with thousands of headstones. People sometimes think the sexton job is easy, but as I described in the letter, there are many responsibilities tied to the position. Okay, but it's not like super complicated. All right, so, okay. But I quickly adapted and enjoyed the sunshine and fresh air after sitting at a desk and staring at a computer screen for 3 years. I do bet that's a funner job, maybe more rewarding. I mean, you're going to be outside, it's quiet. Nobody's going to, talk to you while you're working. Well, they might for Chad because he speaks to the spirit world. So, oh, right. Deep, deep thoughts. Yes. That coffee is very hot. I need to. Hey, Elbow Feet, if you're listening, I'm going to need you to pick up some creamer because I'm all out. Okay? Thanks, babes. All right. The biggest change for me was being much more aware of the otherworldly nature of the profession. When I had worked at the cemetery during college, I hadn't had my La Jolla Cove near-death experience yet. Any spirit world interactions at the cemetery had been rare before, but now I could feel there were plenty of friends hanging out in the cemetery. Oh boy. When I was alone in the cemetery building, I often sensed visitors from the great beyond joining me. Did they tell you anything of importance, Chad? Anything? Anything at all? On bad weather days, I would work in my office to catch up on my record keeping, and invariably, I'd soon notice the hair on the back of my neck standing on end. It was as if someone was leaning over my shoulder reading what I had written. I know these ghostly friends didn't mean any harm, and I would smile when I'd returned from my lunch break to find my pen had been moved across the desk from where I'd left it. Oh my goodness. Scary. Sometimes I would arrive in the morning and see that my day planner was already turned to the correct day. That must have taken a lot of effort. Oh, geez, are you serious? A pen moved. My planner was on the right page day. Okay. Okay. Right? Did anybody? Any of them did he solve any murders? Did he do any good of any kind? No. No, probably not. Oh. I generally sensed 5 male spirits around me. Oh, I won't go down that joke. But all right. I understood they had lived in Springville many years earlier and had been friends during their mortal lives. They considered themselves the guardians of the cemetery, and I appreciated their help. Doing what? Doing what? Did they cut grass? I mean, come on. But there were days when I just had to say, guys, get out of here. I'm trying to get some work done. And they would oblige. Like, what? Okay. Okay. A few years ago, Rick Astley, oh my goodness. Okay. A few years ago, Rick Astley released a gospel album titled 50. Yes, the Together Forever singer from the 1980s, who is now well known for the Rick Roll internet phenomenon. The album is fun and joyful, especially the songs Angels on My Side. Rick sings, I got angels, you got angels, everybody got their angels on their side. Everything's gonna be all right. Also, deeply profound lyrics. I dedicate the song to shut up. I dedicate the song to my cemetery friends from 30 years ago who watched over me, and also to my current friends who I sense are helping me and protecting me now. Yes, Rick, everything's going to be all right. You guys, I think we did. I think we did get rickrolled by him. He dedicated that song to his cemetery ghost friends. Okay. Okay. Well, that was all right. Okay, then let's go to the next letter. Right? Like, what? Oh, gosh. Okay. Letter number 7. Okay. Oh, looks like we're dealing more with the cemetery. Okay. Oh, back to our ghost friends. I picked the best background and I didn't even know. I love that. Oh, man, it's so hot. Okay. What? He sung Ghostbusters. Oh, did he? Rick Astley? Is that true? Are you joking with me? I don't know. Oh, I'm not knocking Rick Astley or his song. I'm knocking Chad dedicating the song to his cemetery ghost friends because that's weird. Could you imagine? You know how you used to like call into the radio to dedicate songs to people? I don't know if that still happens because I don't listen to the radio, but could you imagine calling in and, oh, what was the late night woman's name? Oh, I forget. Anyway, you would call her and be like, I'd like to dedicate. Can you play me Rick Astley's Angels Somewhere song? I'd like to dedicate it to my cemetery ghost friends from 30 years ago who protect me. You guys remember that lady that did the radio show? Be on late at night. I remember my parents listening to it in the car. What a time to be alive, huh? All right, letter 7. Let's get through this BS, shall we? When I was Springville's cemetery sexton, most days were calm, but there were times when things got a little spooky. Oh. The most tangible ghostly experience I had happened after we buried a man named Eddie, who had been known in town as a petty thief. Oh, okay, Eddie. His burial spot wasn't far from my office, and almost immediately after his graveside service, strange incidences started occurring. Oh, okay. Delilah. Was it Delilah? I think it was. Yes, Kelly. Yes. Good morning, Terry. Good morning. Get to packing. Good luck with your appointment, babe. Sorry. For example, the morning after Eddie's burial, I arrived at work and noticed the gate to the enclosure where we park the backhoe and dump truck was swung open. Oh my gosh. There is no rational explanation of how that could have happened. But let's find out more what he has to say. This was unusual because I always made sure the gate was locked as I departed each evening. So, who here thinks he made up this story so that way he didn't like get in trouble or whatever and just is blaming a ghost? I'm going to blame this petty thief ghost for leaving the gate open that I was supposed to lock up because I don't ever forget to do things. Stupid. I possibly left the gate open on accident the first time, but after the same thing happened the next 2 days, I strongly suspected Eddie was still picking locks and causing mischief despite being dead. Okay. Okay. Right? You think he's feeling like I would never do that. When I left for work after the third incident, I tucked a piece of plastic around the lock in a certain way so I could tell if somebody touched it. I even drove back to check the lock that night after dark, and it was still fastened securely with the plastic in place. However, when I checked the gate early the next morning, it had been pushed open a few inches. Oh my gosh. The lock was undone, even though the plastic looked untouched. I wasn't amused by this ghostly prankster. Oh my. Okay. The biggest surprise came moments later when I checked the shed next to my office. The shed had a padlock that required a key I kept on my keychain. Okay. But not only was the shed unlocked, but the padlock itself was hooked on a peg above the door. By this point, I wasn't scared. I was irritated. I figured Eddie was nearby, probably pleased I had noticed his handiwork. So I turned around and said, "Hey, Eddie, listen to me. I'm impressed with your skills, but you're going to get me in trouble. What if someone sees the open gate and steals the backhoe? I get fired." Oh, that pesky Eddie. Oh, my goodness. I paused for a few seconds, then added, "Eddie, you don't belong here. There's a better place for you. Look around, go towards the light, and don't come back." Sorry, I don't know why I chose that voice for him, but that's what we got. He must have listened because any problems with the locks stopped that very day. Oh my goodness, you guys. Chad is also a Ghostbuster. So I want to believe the truth is out there. I mean, maybe. I know lots of people have ghost stories, and that's fine. But I don't believe this guy's story 1 second. Not 1 second. It's in the portal. Yes, Terry, of course. Of course you can. Absolutely have some fun with us before you leave for Europe tomorrow. You know, because I like how he told the ghost, like, I'm going to lose my job if you don't stop. I have a feeling that this was all Chad's doing, that he wasn't good at this job either. And then decided to blame a ghost of a man that he knew was a criminal, because who wouldn't believe that a criminal ghost was pranking him? That's such a believable story, Chad. The Springville Evergreen Cemetery has a good, positive vibe, but there were a couple of areas where negative feelings were very strong. One section caused me anxiety, although There was no logical reason for it. I sensed I was treading on someone's territory and they were bothered I was there. I'd never shared these feelings with anyone, though, until our cemetery secretary, oh, that's hard to say that. Say that, everybody. Cemetery secretary? That's fun. Brought me a burial order. She pointed out the location, then said, I hate that part of the cemetery. It gives me the creeps. I explained to her that I felt the same way in that area. She grimaced and actually shivered from head to toe. Ooh, she said, it feels like someone is playing with my hair when I'm over there. Now, I can creep myself out just like that. I go to the kitchen, ask Elbow Feet. He'll tell you, I creep myself out all the time. For some reason, I'll go to the fridge to get a drink at night, and it's by our basement. And all of a sudden, my brain would be like, wouldn't it be weird if some creepy thing just popped around the basement? And I'd be like, oh my gosh, yes, it would be. And then I run to the bedroom. That was just me. That was just my brain being all weird and being like, hey, I know it's just me. Now, do I creep myself out so much that if I'm at home by myself, I will lock myself in the bedroom and not leave until somebody comes along to make sure it's not scary? Yes. But I also know that it's all in my head. So there's that. But my most frightening cemetery experience happened in another area. Oh. One woman's grave was well known for being supposedly haunted, and I avoided it. How can you avoid it when you're taking care of the land? But it so happened someone died who would be buried in the plot next to the haunted grave. In order to put the new burial in the right spot, I would have to use one of our metal probing rods to push down through the soil and locate the concrete vault of the haunted grave. I've analyzed, jeez, okay, sure. I've analyzed what happened in the next few seconds 1,000 times in my mind, but there is no denying that when the probing rod hit the vault, an electrical shock jolted my body. Okay. I dropped the rod and shook my arms until they stopped tingling. I wondered if I'd struck an underground power line, but it was impossible. Elfie, is that impossible? I don't know. Ginny O, hey babes, probing. I know. I know. It caught me too. I grabbed the probing rod once again, and this time when I touched the vault, it felt like somebody shoved me viciously in the chest. I took off running as fast as I could. I sensed an angry demon-like spirit right on my heels, and it chased me all the way to my office. I could feel the demon clawing at me. Every inch of my body was covered in goosebumps, and I was praying out loud the entire time. My office was several hundred yards from the grave, but I covered the distance in record time. I was completely terrified. Okay. When I dug the grave with the backhoe the next day, I stayed as far from the haunted vault as I possibly could. I wasn't going to risk the chance of another violent supernatural encounter, and thankfully, nothing happened. Okay. Who wants to bet? Let's see what Elbafy has to say to this. He says, it is very much possible people bury all kind of electric shit places where they're not supposed to all of the time, and including in cemeteries. So there you go. That's literally Elbow's featured job. So is to find all the underground utility stuff. So there you go. Savage, this is some paperback folio romance book shit. Savage, his books that he writes are so much worse than this and are exactly like these weird, bad stories, kind of romance novels. Some of them, oh my, they're so bad. They're so bad. Maybe he has plenty of them. Maybe we'll read another one together as friends. if you guys want to do that. I'll find one. That's for sure. All right. Let's see. I read that part. I later read the autobiography of Heber C. Kimball, a very prominent LDS church leader in the 1800s. He endured a demonic attack while on a church mission in England that reminded me of my own experience. He was struck with great force by some invisible power and fell senseless to the floor. 2 other missionaries helped him sit on the bed. Then all 3 of them could distinctly see evil spirits who gnashed their teeth at them. Okay. Heber said, "We saw the devils in legions with their leaders who came within a few feet of us. They came towards us like armies rushing to battle. They appeared to be men of full stature, possessing every form and feature of men in the flesh, who were angry and desperate." Did they just knock him down? Like, that's all they did to this guy was knock him down. It was a whole army of ghosts. And they knocked me down. Okay. Okay. He added, "I learned the power of the adversary, his enmity against the servants of God, and got some understanding of the spirit world." Okay. Okay. Thankfully, the positive cemetery experiences outnumbered the negative ones. Most graveside services carried a good feeling, and it was easy to sense that loved ones of the deceased were in attendance. These spirits were eager to welcome their friend or relative back home and to congratulate them on a life well lived. I mean, it doesn't really ever seem like a good time at all the cemeteries I've been to, but okay. Okay, Jan. One tender moment for me was at the conclusion of an older woman's graveside service. She and I had been neighbors for several years, and I had sometimes assisted her with yard work and other mundane tasks. As her family members returned to their vehicles, it felt like she came to my side. I could sense how happy she was to graduate and continue on with her eternal journey. A warm sensation filled my heart, and I sensed she was thanking me for the help I had given her over the years. Right. I was filled with an assurance that we'd see each other again in a future day. Okay. Oh, the devil found his bestie in jail. Right. Okay. Alma says, "Wait till the morning ghosts are in the cemetery. That means they're not on their individual heaven planets," right? I don't really understand his belief system here, but okay. Okay. It was also at the cemetery that I got the message to begin my career as an author. You know, what I had just read about the neighbor a few years ago. This was in Discord. This wasn't on YouTube anywhere. We had read one of his books as a group. And it was about this young woman, teen girl, who had these neighbor sisters, and like one of them dies, I think. And there was this like magical mouse. It just reminds me a lot of what he just said in that last paragraph of his experience with that heavenly feeling. Anyway, this girl, she's at a cemetery. Okay. There's this magical mouse or whatever. She somehow ends up hitting her head on a tombstone and then travels back in time to the 1800s when Brigham Young and some other Mormon founders, I don't know all their names, were there, and they were settling in Utah. Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. But I think we're gonna have to, read another one. So oh, you were using voice to text, not morning ghost, Mormon ghost. Well, morning Mormon ghost, I suppose. Right? Yes. Yes, like Back to the Future. Yeah, he is not. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It was also at the cemetery that I got the message to begin my career as an author. Writing books was another phase of my life I had seen in the video snippets shown to me during my near-death experience at Lahola Cove, but I hadn't been given any context of when or how this would happen. I figured it would be later in life, not while I was still in my 20s. Okay. I've always wondered how I got into it. Well, now we know. A big snowstorm had hit Springville overnight, so I got up early to plow the snow from the cemetery roadways. There was also a funeral coming that day, so I began shoveling a wide path across the lawn to the gravesite. Then, from out of nowhere, I heard Grandpa Keith's familiar voice. He simply said, "It's time to write your books." Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Also, they're burying people in dead winter during a snowstorm? Isn't it too cold to bury them? I mean, we have that problem here in Ohio, and Utah gets a lot colder than here. So, okay. I leaned on the snow shovel and said aloud, "That's great, but I have no idea what to write about." Almost immediately, the entire plot of my first novel filled my mind. Oh my goodness. I quickly finished shoveling the path to the gravesite. Then I took my lunch break and spent a few minutes jotting down a summary of the storyline. I worked on the book each night at home for the next few weeks. Yep, your writing shows. Your writing shows that you didn't spend a lot of time on it. Okay. When I felt satisfied the book was ready, I submitted the manuscript to Cedar Fort Publishing. I was soon offered a publishing contract. To my surprise, the novel became a regional bestseller, and I ended up publishing my first 12 books with Cedar Fort. Yes, guys, numerous books, yes. Now, you know who else who has? I know people die in the winter, Kelly. I know. I know people do die in the wintertime, but I mean, I've had family members die where they have to wait till like they would pass in like, February or something, and they'd have to wait till March to bury them. So, I don't know. Um, I was confident that my books were inspired from a heavenly source, and I knew writing them was helping fulfill my promise to Grandpa Keith. But it always helps when the adversary reinforces that you are on the right track. One night, as I was falling asleep, I heard a rustling noise outside our bedroom window. As I lay there, a dozen voices suddenly shouted in unison, "We hate your books!" You must have heard me from just a year ago. My voice traveled through time to young Chad, where we're all like, "We hate your books. They're horrible and stupid." It was fairly loud, and I looked over at Tammy, but she hadn't awakened. Then they repeated the phrase. I jumped out of bed and looked out the window, but no one was there. The voices were high-pitched and certainly not mortal. Oh, I knew I'd been visited by evil spirits, even though I couldn't see them. I sensed they were milling around my yard, and I could feel their anger at me. Sorry. And so he thinks that if there's demons, evil spirits, and whatever, they took the time to read his shitty books and then are taunting him that they hate his books. Sorry, I can't. I can't. That's just too funny. It's too much. Apparently, I am not that funny on pain medication. Lies, Kelly. You're hilarious. You are very funny. Okay. The LDS Church teaches that families can pray and dedicate their homes to protect against evil spirits. And we had done that when we moved in. But now I rededicated our home and expanded it to include all of our property. I asked Heavenly Father and his angels to remove these demons and stop them from returning. It was a relief to feel them depart, and we didn't have any more trouble with them after that. Oh, okay. Although the encounter was frightening, it actually strengthened me to know the adversary and his demons weren't pleased with the books I was writing. Oh, your books are crap, and I hate them. And I'm not a demon, evil spirit. I'm very alive. We just all went through your portal. It's like your books suck. All right, bookshelf. I was employed as Springville Cemetery sexton for several years before moving into the book publishing world on a full-time basis. As I mentioned in an earlier letter, our book company started off with great success. Then, in 2008, the entire publishing industry began feeling the effects of the Great Recession. At our annual booksellers convention, I met with other publishers and we tried to reassure each other that our companies would survive. After all, during the Great Depression in the 1930s, the citizens had to turn to books as their main form of entertainment during hard times. I mean, yeah, but also not a lot of people still had books during that time. There wasn't much going on, but okay. Well, history didn't repeat itself in this age of the internet. We were barely able to keep Spring Creek books afloat. We did bounce back a few years later, but in the meantime, it was clear I needed to find a different full-time job. In a strange twist of fate, it meant a return for me to the cemetery business. Spanish Fork Cemetery Sexton was retiring, and I applied and got the job. In some ways, it was surreal because when you grow up in Springville, your main rival is Spanish Fork. Oh my goodness. But I felt welcome and I had great coworkers. Okay, Chad. Oh, okay. I want to share a Spanish Fork ghost story because it was a situation where I didn't see anything, but my two coworkers did. Oh, okay. I'll call them Derek, spelled weird, and Sam to protect their privacy. Okay. The story begins as we were filling a grave in the part of the cemetery where original settlers were buried. As Derek and Sam waited by the grave, I drove the backhoe to our dirt pile a few hundred yards away and returned with a scoop of dirt. As I got closer, I saw Derek and Sam both backing away from the grave. Sam was nervously pointing at something, and then Derek actually hid behind Sam. Something had clearly spooked them. He should have named them Dean and Sam from Supernatural. I dumped the load of dirt in the grave, then turned off the backhoe and hopped out. Derek and Sam started shoveling the dirt as if nothing had happened. But then Sam asked me, "Did you see him too?" "What do you mean?" I asked. They looked at each other in surprise. Sam stammered for a moment before walking to a spot about 10 feet from the grave. He said, "There was a boy standing right there. He was watching us." Derek added that the boy was wearing old-style clothes and that he vanished into thin air when I got closer with the backhoe. I asked them if they could see through him, and they both shook their heads. Derek said, "I thought he was a real kid at first. He stood there for at least 30 seconds. We discussed that experience many times during the rest of the summer, and we marveled that both Derek and Sam saw the boy. I would always write down memorable cemetery stories such as this one, and I eventually published a nonfiction book titled One Foot in the Grave. Add that to Llama's list. The first version was published after I finished working for Springville City. I later updated the book with a new cover and added several of my Spanish Fork experiences. There were numerous funny stories included, along with a good description of what it was like to work in a cemetery. So, a lot of that is going to be made up stuff. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Pam. Well, it's crazy. So, that's all I have to tell you about that. ghosts in a cemetery. And that's true. That's true. Rival grave diggers. I know, right? What is old style clothes, right? Right? How come there's no new ghost? Despite these occasional humorous incidents, I always took my duties as sexton very seriously. I regarded it as a sacred honor to care for the cemetery grounds and to perform burials properly with professionalism. Most importantly, I always made sure the deceased were shown complete dignity and respect. I knew better than anyone that my employees and I were on holy ground, with friends and relatives watching us from the other side. I'm grateful for that unique opportunity and for the experiences I had that made me a better person. Oh, look, you can find One Foot in the Grave here. It's a paid link. I guess I'll look for it somewhere else. Musical notes. Oh boy, what song is Chad going to dedicate to us today? In these letters, I have shared a few of my encounters with spirits. However, I realize there are people who truly don't sense spirits around them. I know a man who worked in a cemetery for 3 decades, and he claimed he never felt any spiritual phenomenon during that time. I believe him because we are all wired differently with various abilities. Remember, this is Chad saying, look how special I am, special and important. I use the word wired because I perceive spirits as human shaped electrical fields. Okay. When they are near me, the hair on my arms and legs stand on end. I rarely see or hear spirits. I also don't smell or taste their presence, although some people do. The sense of touch best describes what I experience. A visit from a good spirit feels like a warm summer breeze that creates a soothing, energetic effect. Meanwhile, the presence of an evil spirit generates an icy vibration similar to a frigid winter gust that temporarily takes your breath away and heckles you by saying they hate your books. We have all been given spiritual gifts from heaven, including a sense of intuition or a gut feeling to help us. I think most people can recall situations when they have felt guided or warned by an unseen source. The great thing about these gifts is that they aren't one size fits all. We each receive them in ways we can best understand them based on our own talents. Hopefully, we will use these gifts to make the world a better place. Chad, you did not make the world a better place. Sorry, but you didn't. Not even close. Not even close. Throughout my life, I have sought to bring positive energy and healing light to the hearts of those around me. The source of this light is Jesus Christ. The Savior's atoning sacrifice has made it possible for each of us to overcome death by being resurrected someday and returning to live with our eternal family. LDS Church President Russell M. Nelson has recently shared several messages about the Savior's second coming. Isn't that the guy that just died? Because there was the whole thing that just happened in Michigan with that shooting and fire at a Mormon church. And isn't Russell Nelson, didn't he die the day before or something like that? Names ring this bell. Okay. Jesus will soon return in glory to bring peace to this troubled world. I know this event will happen and flood the earth with happiness. This leads me to mention another song that helped strengthen me during those very rough final months in the Fremont County Jail before my court trial began. Oh, I thought you had forgot. That's why we're here, Chad. The song is I Believe It, The Life of Jesus by John Reddick. It sums up the marvelous mission of our Savior. Please put on some headphones, sit back, and listen to this wonderful, heartfelt tribute to Jesus. I'm not going to do that. That's not my thing, but any of you can do that. I don't really know how we got from Ghost to this song about Jesus in this letter, but we did. So I don't know. Yes, Savage. Yes, he did say taste the ghost. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't even have that skill on like a normal day. So Chad, Chad is the king of pick me. Yes, he is. Right? Oh, look how pink I am. That light is very pink. So that brings us to, we're all caught up with Chad's BS letters. Uh, yeah, no, copyright won't like any of those songs. Yeah, you can taste ghost apparently. I mean, I just feel like when it comes to Chad, all the stuff is just made up bullshit to make him seem special and stand out. It's a tale as old as time for people that want their own followers, right? I mean, even some of the stuff he was talking about was very vague, right? So I don't believe anything Chad says. I'm not discounting other people's experiences. I don't have any of those experiences. So I don't really care either way. I'm just saying I don't believe his bullshit. And Lori also tried. Remember when she had, it was the last trial I think we watched of hers. Or what? No, it was the Charles Vallow trial, not the Brandon Boudreaux trial. But she had some of her friends come over for like this weird kind of prayer seance because Ned, the spirit of Ned, had gotten into Charles's body. And there was like weird cabinets were slamming everywhere. Or was that? I don't know. It was in one of their many trials that I get things jumbled. But I don't know. Again, I think this is just people wanting to escape their own realities, wanting to feel special. Chad and Lori specifically. So, also, I did not know that those two stories were going to be about ghosts. So my background is hilarious. He is horrible. He is horrible. And I don't understand why we're late on getting the letters, Chad. Okay? You don't have anything else going on. All right? We know what your life is like on death row. So you were writing books in just a couple of weeks. I would have expected like a whole novel by now. So, I know Stephen King writes a lot of books, but his stuff is good. Chad's stuff, not good. Not even the subject, because I'm not a horror reader. I've read some Stephen King books, but it's not my genre, right? But Chad's is like a 7th or 8th grader wrote the book. They're not good. They're not good, guys. But I guess we're gonna have to get one and read it together. So. Oh, well, you guys, that is all I really have for you today. I don't know what couch court is going to happen for next week at all. I have literally nothing planned for next week. So I'll have to throw some stuff together. On Sunday, under our post on our channel, I'll have some sort of like a lineup for the week. So to hit the notification bells and all of that. And then I'll be making a post for the Besties or Higher members so you can put your suggestions for Llama Learns About, because I'm very excited to see what you guys think I should learn about. And then tonight, TMI, Too Much Internet for Everybody, gets to come and participate and watch the show. I'm so excited to show you guys that. That is where I'll be. But you guys have a great weekend. It's almost fall. It's almost going to be cold. So go out, enjoy the nice weather. If you live in the north, it's probably nice. We don't have much time left until the winter comes, until winter is coming. There are a few trials going on. Well, I got to be a little careful. Miss Terry is going to be in Europe for a couple of weeks, so I have to head everything up. So I got to make sure that, we have all of our ducks in a row before I go signing on all that. But you guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being with me through all of this Chad BS. I couldn't get through it without you guys. That's for sure. Don't go. I need you to keep me company. I know, but Kelly, I got to put together stuff for the show tonight, babes. I got to. I know. I wish we could hang out all the time, but we'll be hanging out more, I promise. So, all right, you guys, you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all later tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, okay? All right, until next time, go forth and be amazing. Bye, guys.